Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
I'm Robert McBride, and this is Everyday People, a program in which we investigate the lives of people making a difference in our community. Great. Hi, good afternoon. This is Robert McBride from the Rockingham Arts and Museum Project with another episode of Everyday People. And we are focusing on a series of programs about the Vermont Creative Network and people, artists locally, organizations, and cultural events that are happening as we, get through this COVID world of ours and stuff. So on today's program, I have two artists, local artists around the Bellows Falls area, Jeanette Staley and Clare Adams. So welcome to the program.
Hi, Robert.
Thanks, hi, Clare. Great, good. You know what I like to do, because it's like, so how did I assume neither of you, I'm assuming this, are not native Vermonters, or you may be, but if not, how did you end up coming to Vermont in a brief response?
Should I go first?
Sure, Clare.
Well, I grew up in New Jersey and Connecticut. My father commuted into New York City when I was growing up, but we always had a vacation house up in Wyndham. So we came up summers and weekends, and I just fell in love with this area and always wanted to move here. And I moved here in 1988, so I've been here quite a while.
Great. And Jeanette, how did you end up in Vermont?
I came from Massachusetts in 2001.
Did you have a history of coming to Vermont, or suddenly you just ended up here?
I had never been, but I was looking for a new place to live, and a friend said, I know where you should be.
And was that specifically where you came to now, southeastern Vermont?
Yeah, Bellows Falls specifically.
Yeah.
She knew about you. She knew about RAMP. She knew about the artists in the area because she was an art rep, and she was repping my work as well as some of the artists around here.
Right.
And so when I needed to move, she put me in the car and drove me up here and showed me around Bellows Falls and introduced me to Putney and stained glass artist in Putney, Adele Byrne, and I worked with Adele for a year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my also was a serendipitous arrival. I'd come for a dinner party. I was living in New York City and to a dinner party in Bellows Falls in 1981 and stayed overnight and ended up buying a house. So I always like to know how people kind of end up here, whether it's a little bit of a family history like Claire's or total serendipitousness that you end up something and yet really making it your home and putting your roots down. So we're glad you're both in the area. And we have like to hear a little bit about the kind of artwork that you both, each of you create. So do you want to speak a little bit first, Jeanette, about your work or how it's evolved? You said you were working with a glass person. Were you doing glass work or being an assistant to
No,
someone?
I was just an assistant. I had been doing my collage and the paintings that she was representing and small pieces on paper and that sort of thing. And then, so when I came up, I got an apartment that had space enough for a studio, and I went right to work.
And then how has your work sort of evolved over the years, would you say?
Let's see. Well, I think it's a lot has changed. I've started taking elements of pieces that I've done and creating other products with them, which is different. So tiles and fabrics and small prints. Um, and I got in 2005, I got a creation grant from the Vermont Arts Council, which gave me several months um, to do some work. So that was a change. And then a couple of years ago, working on my master's degree brought another change. So, but I think it's, you always need something to sort of shake things up and change the direction of your work a little bit.
Right, right. Yeah, there are no plateaus. When I do artwork, I'm always sort of the happiest when I don't exactly know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're sort of when you're doing your work, you get into a rhythm and you do stuff. But sometimes when you just do things and go, what is that? Those are the pieces that kind of jump out at me too, that I
Yeah.
kind of, what is that I did there that's, out of my routine with working and stuff. And what about you, Claire, in the development of your work? And you were doing artwork before you moved full time up to Vermont, I assume.
Yeah, I went
Or
to
are we
art
on that
school.
path?
I went to art school in Boston at the Museum School of Fine Arts, and
Okay.
I was an oil painter back then, and a landscape painter, and I worked in oils for years until I developed an allergy to the solvents. So that was a real problem for me. I tried to switch to acrylics, but acrylics never, the light doesn't shine on the acrylics when you layer the paint like
Right.
oil. So I switched to printmaking. And when I did that, it was just when the water-based materials were starting to be more popular and they were getting to be a good quality. So I did printmaking and monoprints for years. And I found I loved working on the plexiglass, which is how you work when you do monoprints. So much so that I was dying to try to work on actual glass. That kind of was a spark that got me interested in glass painting. So it's something new, like you were saying before. It's fun to try new things and kind of shake things up. So learning to paint on glass has been a whole adventure for me in the last few years, and it's quite technical and challenging. So I've really enjoyed the learning process.
Yeah.
So is the work that and I assume the work that was just shown that we shared of yours were the glass pieces that you've been working
That's
on?
painted, those are painted on recycled window glass that I collect from around construction projects or old windows people are removing or what have you. And then put them together with, those are with copper, put together with copper foil and lead solder. I just like the way the light hits the glass and shines through the painted glass. And I look forward to doing more colorful, larger pieces in the future. Maybe someday do some kind of public art or architectural piece with that.
It's kind of interesting when you sort of got involved with printmaking as well as with the glass pieces. There's definitely sort of a process involved there, or a mechanics to it also that is different than just working against a canvas with your paints. I mean, there's a process there too, but there's a technical aspect that you need to know how to work with and kind of conquer or really explore.
I like the technical process. It kind of relaxes me and gets my mind out of trying to make art too hard to make art. And just kind of fall through the process and the art evolves for me as I go along.
Well, and also, both of your work, your works are both kind of mature works. You've been working a while, you're developing things, you're both expanding into stuff. And then we know, like, oh, I'm an artist living in Vermont. So how do I make a living, or how do I allow my artwork, how do I integrate that into my life, ideally to bring some revenue stream in, but also to continue working. So how have you felt about being an artist in Vermont? I mean, Vermont is a lifestyle choice. I think we all understand that. You live in Vermont. Very few people move here because they have a job waiting for them. You come here, you like it, you want to stay, then you figure out how to stay. seems to be, and that seems to be the life of artists I know in general, period. But, how has that been evolving for you, in terms of the market business aspect of your work, of working with your work or getting it out there? Do you want to take a crack at that, Jeanette?
Oh, no, I was going to let Claire take that one.
You want to take the first one? Well, we'll get back to you.
Sure. It's a constant challenge is the short answer. It has been for years. I've held many different jobs, from farming to teaching to childcare, do some light contracting work. I do sell here and there, but it mainly supports my habit, buys more paint and
Right.
materials, and keeps me going.
Mhm.
And now, well, with the world of social media and the internet, there's more opportunities, but that is a challenge in and of itself for me.
Mhm.
So just try to get out there as much as I can.
Right, right. So now you've had a little time to think, Jeanette. So what do you want?
Well,
What do
I mean,
you?
I think the same that I have always, since I've lived here, had one job after another, from teaching to farming to whatever. But I also have been raising kids, raising a daughter, and um, and then the last couple of years since Zoe went to college, I've been trying to reconnect. There are a lot of opportunities in Massachusetts, and so and I was very connected there before I left, and so I've been trying to find a way to reconnect with galleries in Massachusetts again, and that's been interesting. You know, I've just sort of really just started the last couple of years, but it's given me an opportunity to take um, something different, something completely different, like a sculpture or a video project, something that came from the work I was doing in school, and take it someplace where nobody knows me, and um, and just see how it lives, how it what the reaction is to something that's completely new. Um, there's a couple of galleries down there that I've been able to work with to do that, and just being group shows. It's not, you know, it's not, the focus isn't just on me, it's part of a larger show. But I've liked doing that. And it's not, the purpose hasn't been to sell anything, it's just been to expand my understanding of my own work through another audience.
Yeah, being able to place it out there and then have reaction to it, or
Yeah.
in the
To see if
public
there's,
vein,
yeah,
some
to see
people
if there's
create and
understanding.
it just stays in their studio, which is fine, and other people, it's like, okay, I've done this, then I kind of want to share it or get some reaction or some feedback from it. But mhm,
It's like a critique to me, and so in that way, it's helpful. Is the message coming across, or is it too convoluted? Is it too difficult for people
mhm,
to people to for people to tease out? Because there's a lot of layers to the work I do, whether it's collage or video or a sculpture. There's a lot going on, and because there's a lot going on in my head,
right.
like projecting out into the world.
Mhm,
So yeah, so that's been, I've appreciated having a a place like that, and that's the place that I ran, that I was in Massachusetts. I ran an art center for 12 years that was all about emerging artists, and it was about giving people an opportunity to plan an exhibit, without a lot of um, without having to put a lot on the table. You know, it didn't cost a lot of money. It was an opportunity to see your work in a big space and to have an opening and to organize all of that, um, and to get that reaction, that feedback, or I think it's critique actually. An informal kind of critique or a public critique, but critique nonetheless. Anyway, so this, I'm doing the same thing, except I'm taking my work down to other galleries.
So when you mentioned though, there were more opportunities in Massachusetts, were you referring to the possibility of showing the galleries, or were there other kinds of resources that you felt there that are lacking here? Was it just because of there's a demographic, a bigger population and stuff, or could be interesting to see if there was any things we could develop more here that you noticed there, but was it really mostly just that it was a bigger demographic to bounce off of and work with artists?
I think it was, it's the demographics. There were more people, that created more opportunities.
Mhm.
But there were, um, there just are a lot, because there's more galleries, for instance, or more art centers, more museums, um, and museums of all different sizes,
Mhm.
right? Art, I think of one of the art organizations that I work with is Arts Worcester, which is it's a nonprofit organization that has a big gallery space. And they have like 3 shows at a time going on, and they have an open call every year that's just like members and anybody can participate. And they have hundreds of members. So, if not more. So, those kinds of opportunities? That would be great if something like that were around here. I don't know how it would be funded.
Yeah. You have to move back to Massachusetts. Yeah.
We could open my garage, we could clean out the garage
Yeah.
and just paint it white.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So Claire, do you kind of notice that same kind of with where you create and what you're doing and the feedback that you're getting or need or don't need? Do you feel a difference from having moved up from Connecticut in terms of doing your work, or are you settling into your work in a different way that how you create in your studio? Do you feel like you get enough feedback? And I know you show at the Canal Street Gallery, and they've been doing a great job about supporting local artists and getting the work out and doing these virtual openings still. So please, check out the gallery when you're in town. It is open at this point. But they
Really
do a lot
enjoyed showing at the Canal Street Gallery in Bellows Falls. It's small and intimate, and it's a great place to meet the other local artists in the area, and they do a great job. But mainly my focus is working, between juggling jobs and family. I just really enjoy time in the studio, working out these technical issues and experimenting and seeing where it goes and just feeling my way through the process is really what gets me excited. And the showing part is great, but it's not what it's all about for me. I do like sharing my work, and I would like to do some public art that I really could share with a lot of people. I think that stained glass hopefully will lend itself to that, some large scale work in the future. It doesn't have to be in a gallery. That can just be out in the town or in the environment or in someone's yard.
Right.
So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. So do you feel, both of you, like, because artists are kind of forced to be entrepreneurs at this point in a way, there used to be a pretty good gallery system that used to exist but that's long kind of gone in the way that artists sort of had a very I mean, galleries kind of had a stable of artists. They worked with those artists. Now with the internet, and even before that, things have shifted so much. Do you enjoy the juggle of that? What you have to do? Do you feel like you have to? It seems like in these days it's not like we're expected to, but because there's different programs on the computer, you can design this, and you can do this, you can make your invitation, that we sort of feel compulsed that we're supposed to do it all, and I'd much rather have a graphic designer do my invitation if that's what they're good at. I want to be in the studio working, but I know we don't have that option. So how do you guys, do you feel the pressure of that? Do you enjoy parts of that, of what you have to do? Do you just accept that if I'm trying to get my artwork out there, this is the only way I can do it?
Who do you want to answer that?
Jeanette, I think we get a high sign that we are down to 5 minutes. I don't know, but let's go. Answer those questions. That's great.
Oh geez. Well, I have a couple of galleries up here that I work with that I'm happy with. And I like working with the Putney Craft Tour an awful lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice cooperative group of artists. And we share in all of the labor. And I think that's what we're moving towards in our Art in Bellows Falls Coffee Clutch too, is this.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think though that, I think it's just better when it's a collaborative to do those things. It's hard to bounce, I just kind of bounce off the walls when it's just me trying to organize any of these things.
Yeah.
I find all the social media and the internet marketing to be a lot of work. And it's difficult for me. It's my generation or just my sensibility. I can't spend too much time in front of a screen. So it's difficult. I'd love to have a young helper that might be willing to wade through some of that stuff for me.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is now. Seems to.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of drudgery. There's this constant, it's like, the Facebook posting and the this and the that and the this and the that, it's just, it's intense, And
but
then
it is effective. It gets your work out there. I mean, it's the few posts that I've been doing on social media has gotten me, all the way into Europe. Stained glass artists in France and England have responded. So that part is quite exciting.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's interesting. Do you have any comments on that, Jeanette?
Well, I think it's any kind of self-employment, right? Is it's 80% drudgery,
right,
including the marketing, and 20%. Everybody starts a business doing what it is they love to do,
right,
and ends up down this rabbit hole of all this other stuff that you have to do to make it work.
Yeah.
And we're the same.
Right. I didn't know if each of you would maybe, if you have your websites to share, if you would just mention them to the audience again, if they'd like to kind of look at your work and know a little bit about more what you're about, and just kind of say it slowly and clearly. So Jeanette, what is your website?
www.flyingcanvasstudio.com.
flyingcanvasstudio.com. Great. And Claire, you have
mine is Clare Adams art.com. So it's Clare ClareAdamsArt.com.
Great. No, it'd be great. Yeah, if people want to check that out and get back to the artist about stuff and everything. And Jeanette had sort of mentioned the creating a community of artists, which is really important. I find for myself, I definitely need the wind under my wings of other people to kind of, touch base with and everything. And we're going to be doing a show coming up on Friday about the Coffee Clutch, a group of Bellows Falls and local artists that have kind of been meeting over a period of years and evolving it. And some of the issues they're working with and the challenges and some of the events they have planned. So that'll be coming up this Friday. We'll be doing a show on that more. So I think we're getting to the end of our show here. Is there any other little comment, inspiration, appropriate phrase for a fortune cookie you'd like to share with the audience?
Oh, just that the Bellows Falls area is a great place to make art. There's lots of artists and lots of people doing their thing, whether it's in town or at the end of a dirt road, and it's a great community.
Yeah.
Visit Art in Bellows Falls on Facebook.
Yep, absolutely. That's really great and stuff. So I want to thank you for joining the program today, and I want to thank Fact
Thanks,
TV
Robert.
for hosting such a great venue for us. It's a great community resource, so people should definitely support them and also have programming with them. I also want to thank the Vermont Arts Council, the National Endowment for Arts, Chroma Technology, and the Wyndham Foundation, and of course individuals in the community and beyond that support the Rockingham Artsy Museum project, that we can continue to host programming like this. So until the next time, I'll see you on the square. Thank you.
Thank you.